Welcome back, folks. We're here once again to talk about the top 5 decks for both meta, rogue, and budget for the new format of Yu-Gi-Oh! You guys know what we're all about, so let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So I'm going to start in for number 5. I've got Mimighoul here. Yes, Mimighoul. It jumped from the top of the budget all the way to the bottom of the top meta. How can I justify this? Well, if you have not fought against Mimighouls, then you frankly you frankly won't understand. Not only are Mimighouls resilient, but they are very unpredictable. Sure, their gameplay is relatively predictable, but in terms of strategy and how to go about it, they can be very unpredictable. Because it's a deck that not only utilizes the flip monster effects, it also is a deck that is evenly match proof. It's imperm proof, and if you're not careful, you can run into some really formidable techs. My favorite that this deck is able to utilize are the Triple Tactics Thrust and Triple Tactics Talent, because their flip effects technically activate as your effects, meaning that without you having to do a thing, your opponent is able to thrust or talents you. You know, that in and of itself earns it the number 5 spot. Could it get better because we have the new support in? Only time will tell, but I firmly believe that this deck is a mass sleeper. I fought against this deck online so many times, and not even joking, 90% of the time I would lose. Now we're going to get into number 4, Tenpei Dragons. Sure, their field spell got limited to 1. It was a big hit to them. I think it was the perfect hit. Does that mean that they're bad? Absolutely not. The deck can still massively OTK your opponent. The deck still has so many tech choices available to it outside of its own archetype. We're not talking about the new support card that came in Rage of the Abyss. That card isn't worth mentioning. But the deck core itself is so resilient that you only need 1 card in order to get the full combo for it. Everything else in the deck can be board breakers. Forbidden Droplets, Dark Holes, Regekis, Lightning Storms, Cosmic Cyclones. It can even OTK your opponent under Pot of Prosperity, which sure is limited to 1, probably because of this deck, but that doesn't stop it. It still has other ways to utilize its strategy. You know, like I said with Mimighouls, it can easily use Triple Tactics Thrust to get to its field spell through Terraforming or any other support card that it needs, like Dark Hole or Regeki, to help break through your opponent's boards. It's a deck that absolutely wants to go second. It's best at going second. The only weakness of this deck is going first, but even then they have ways to utilize that. Number 1 that I've found is Heat Wave. If you are a Tenpei Dragon and you think that your opponent is going to make you go first on the next game, which most of the time they will, you side in Heat Wave and it locks them out and you're able to kill them next turn anyway. So yeah, Tenpei Dragons definitely deserve number 4. Now number 3. Before I get any further, I need to make something perfectly clear. The next 3 decks that are going to be on this list are going to be jumbled piles of like 3 different archetypes in 1 deck each. So I'm going to do my best to try and narrow the possibilities for it. So for number 3, we got Branded. More specifically, Branded with the new Asmania deck, or archetype, I should say. Sure, Branded Fusion got hit to 1, but the Asmania Fusion support drastically enhances it. Probably even past what it originally was. The synergy that Branded has always had with other Fusion archetypes has always been known. Asmania just takes it 1 step further than that. Not only can you recur its Fusion spell, which is absolutely ridiculous, but it also has a monster that is also an Omni Negate. Something that even Branded didn't have. Sure, it had Mirror Jade, but Mirror Jade wasn't a negation. It was an interruption, sure, twice, but now it has an Omni Negate on top of that. Plus, with all of its other resources that Branded is able to utilize, not only with that, but with the Sinful Spoil support. because Asmania is technically Sinful Spoil, Lure, or Support. So yeah, so many different possibilities came out for Branded specifically. Even though Branded Fusion got limited to 1, it still has this going for it. Now, number 2, this is where it gets crazy. Number 2 I have specifically for Snake Eyes. But even more specific than that, the Snake Eyes Asmania Fiendsmith build. Good lord, is this deck resilient. The one thing that this has above Branded is that it's able to utilize the Fiendsmith, which Branded can still do, but Snake Eyes does it even better, like 100 times better and more consistent. You better be siding in Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere modes in your decks if you're able to utilize it, because unless you have a multitude of cards that can play through this, you know, stuff like what Tempe has with all of its board breakers, you are not going to get past its wall. You're going to have to go through 2 negations, possibly if they have the White Forest support in it, which can be a thing. You're going to have to go through 2 Omni Negates, a effect that flips all of your monsters face down, their trap support, and possibly even a Little Knight or IP Masquerena as backup. That is absolutely bonkers. One thing that is constantly amazing me about Co-Money is that when they get rid of stuff that was terrorizing a format, i.e. Appaloosa, Savage Dragon, and Baron, they come out with other ones that are relatively similar in terms of the Fiendsmith and Asmania Omni-Negate monsters. It's like, sure, they're less generic, but when most of the top decks are going to be utilizing them, they might as well be generic. There's no difference. And without further ado, let's just go ahead and shoot into number 1. If you already don't know it, it's the Yubel Fiendsmith engine. Scott, you got your wish. Sure, it's not pure, but Yubel is finally at the top. Now we just need to get Blue Eyes to the top with its new support. Who knows? It might happen, but we'll just have to see. But anyway, Yubel Fiendsmith, it's the same argument as Snake Eye Fiendsmith. You can also utilize the Asmania cards in it too, because technically the Spirit of Yubel is a fusion monster. Fusion support, you know. So not only do you have the Asmania and Fiendsmith engine, but you also have the Yubel engine, which is annoying enough to deal with. So yeah, based on all the data that I have from the top decks, Yubel Fiendsmith specifically has always been at the top, at least for this, at least currently right now. Give it another few weeks, it may change, but this is my prediction for what I believe is going to happen. But guys, that's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell down below for notifications, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.